My number 3, I had Selma, which I'm sure you have as well. I thought Ava DuVernay, DuVernay,
I think. Yeah.
I thought she turned in a heck of a movie.
Wow.
This is really great filmmaking.
Right.
I know it's taking, in recent weeks, it's taken some criticism. People are firing at it about the treatment of Lyndon B. Johnson. They say he's portrayed as too much of a jerk or too much of a reluctant hero and whatever. I mean, I think if you read those articles and then you go see the movie, I think you'll be like, I don't see what all the fuss was about.
Right.
Because in the end, I mean, yeah, he comes across harsh. I mean the way he speaks and everything. But I mean, there's that scene where it's him and Governor, George Wallace of Alabama, and he goes, "I'm not going to go down in the history books with you," and he does the right thing, to steal a phrase. So I mean, I don't think the criticism against LBJ is that big of a deal. To me, with the central figure, I thought they did a really good job of humanizing King. And David Oyelowo, oh my God, what a performance! He looks like him. You take screen grabs, you're like, is that from the movie or is that a file photo?
Yeah.
But I thought they did a good job of humanizing him. Warts and all. He's not portrayed as just a great saint. They hint at the infidelity and with Coretta Scott and all that. And show his him grieving when some of his followers are killed. There's those really intense human emotions.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was a really well done movie, and as a director, she uses that slow motion violence with the church bombing or people getting stomped. It's slow mo, or then when they're on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Yeah.
There's that crane shot that starts on it and comes down to the followers, and the high angle kind of denotes like a change about to happen.
Right.
Which is different from the Bloody Sunday scene when they get trampled, which is more of a ground level shot. But I just thought the filmmaking in that was tremendous and on a topic that's very, very relevant with a lot of what's going on in the last year. Just this message of, whether you're out in the streets protesting or for, you're on the other side of the spectrum and you're like, oh man, the revenge killings against these cops in Brooklyn, oh, that's what outrages me. Wherever you fell last year on this thing,
right.
This movie has lessons for you. It's this peaceful protest, equal rights movie that I think should be seen and shown in classes for years to come.
Definitely.
It's a great movie.
Definitely. So, just going into number 2, that was Selma for me.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the number 1. And honestly, it would have been my number 1, but number 1 is number 1, and I think we probably have the same. Because, and we'll talk about why.
Exactly.
But, man, wow, what a powerful movie. Let me tell you, nobody knows this, right? Except for maybe my wife. But when I went to the film, I was like, man, I don't feel like going to see another biopic, specifically another black biopic, because we had James Brown,
Jackie Robinson,
yeah,
Brown.
And the James Brown biopic was cool, but it was kind of sensationalized.
Right.
What's his name?
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman did an awesome, phenomenal job. But as a story, the story just didn't click for me. So that's what I was feeling like it was going to be going into it. Jason, I tell you the truth, 15 minutes into it, I was crying. Because I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so ungrateful. Here I am, black film critic, going to this screening in Washington, D.C., sitting amongst all other races.
You can pinch yourself,
Exactly. And I don't want to go see this biopic about MLK. The Ava DuVernay just does. If she doesn't get nominated, I'm going to be upset. Because the film is phenomenal in taking just a section of the civil rights movement. And saying pretty much everything you need to know about the civil rights movement, right? Never before have I seen MLK portrayed, like you said, with such human qualities, right?
Sure. He's a man.
Exactly.
On a rounded character, yes.
And the camera hovers over him many times, or it hovers right behind him, and it's that gravity of the situation that's weighing down on him, and it's just done so beautifully. Even in the beginning with, as you talked about, the 4 little girls, it kind of came out of nowhere, and that's what I loved about it. Everything about it to me felt unique.
People gasped in the theater.
exactly.
It doesn't say here's the bombing coming.
Right,
you know,
right.
Yeah.
But and like you were talking about earlier in the show, how they did use like the FBI files.
Oh, the J. Edgar Hoover wiretap.
Yeah, exactly. And they did it in such a genius way where it's like, 10:53 p.m. King is at at home. Yeah, exactly.
Trying to dig up whatever so we can paint him as a communist and get him out of here or something. I mean, it was that part was creepy.
Right. And I felt as though the film overall, to me, it gave me a lot more respect for the civil rights movement in the sense that. For this is one of the first times I felt like they showed the chess game that had to be played, right? Sure. The fact that, we do need drama, as they call it, where we need to see some people getting beaten. Right, we need to see some dogs biting kids, you know what I mean? Like, we need this in order to get on the TV, to get a bigger audience, because obviously by just, kind of picketing or whatever, nobody's really listening.
Right.
And so for the first time, I feel like this film kind of really depicted just the amount of pure strength that, prior generation had to have in order to make this successful, to be smart enough to understand that with violence, it's not going to help, but, by nonviolence.
Right.
Setting and having
a bunch of stores on fire isn't going to do it. We
exactly.
Need to be, let's take the high road here. People will notice. Yeah.
And having the strength to take a beating and continue forward. I think that to me was just powerful. Overall, the film is again incredible. It's definitely. It would have been my number one, but there's another number one.
Well, and you mentioned it before we move on, but I'm gonna just final point on Selma. You mentioned the point about how it was a very specific slice of the civil rights movement, and to me, that's what made it. I think she and the screenwriter, they did such a disciplined job of, we're gonna take this one little slice that says so much.
Right.
I mean, I think a lesser filmmaker would have tried to cram everything in. We're doing a King biopic. Let's open with I Have a Dream in 63. Then let's include the Civil Rights Act of 64. Then we'll get to the Voting Rights of 65. And then we'll show him get assassinated at the end.
Right.
And when I say lesser filmmaker, I don't mean someone bad. I mean, even Spielberg stayed around too long in Lincoln. Like, I didn't need to see him get assassinated. He should have ended when he walked down the hallway.
Yeah.
Or, I guess maybe I'm thinking of like the Lee Daniels jumping around approach. But that was a different story altogether.
Yeah.
That was about him working with the president. So he had to. But in this, to take 65 and the Voting Rights Act, to me, there's so many little poignant moments in there because it speaks to today, I think. Because with that, everyone's like, okay, fine. Slavery is abolished. You can drink from the same water fountain now. Why are you still mad? And you could say the same thing. People would say it's something more post-racial society now. But to start in 65, when people could say that, oh, you've had so much progress, why do you need to keep going?
Right.
Then you go in there and you show all the remnants of Jim Crow and all the disturbingly creative ways that you still get denied from the ballot box. Like, to me, that is the powerful slice of the history.
Right.
And to get that passed, just the right to be able to vote take part in your own democracy, Exactly. It seems so bizarre. Like, okay, that seems like it's a no-brainer, but that's why that slice of the story worked. And I thought they were so disciplined in telling that part.
Totally agree. And they say that within the film. They're like, if I can't vote for, my elected officials, therefore the, rules and the laws that are created are, not advantageous to me and my family.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a powerful, incredible film.
It could have been number one in any other year.
Yeah.
If it was a different year, a weaker year, that would have been number one. I think, easily.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
To me, the top three here are like almost interchangeable.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, depending on what kind of reason, but these are all films that you're definitely going to hear about.
Right.